Welcome to Maslow AI, Systems Thinking for Life Fulfillment. I'm John Betancourt. I spent 25 years in aerospace applying systems thinking to make sure that planes got off the ground safely and efficiently. We used frameworks like failure analysis trees to prevent disasters. We applied redundant safety systems to protect human life. Now, I'm applying those same principles to life fulfillment. I take Maslow's hierarchy, that 80-year-old framework, update it with new neuroscience from fMRI studies and biology research, and now we use systems thinking to help you optimize your life. In the same way we optimized aircraft and helped avoid catastrophic failures. If you think about it, life is a system too. And most people are flying blind. Today, we're diagnosing a critical system failure risk. It's in your connection tier. It's something called the, quote, ick factor, close quote. Picture this. Sarah meets David at a coffee shop. Great conversation, genuine chemistry, and real dating potential. Then he snorts while laughing at his own joke. Instantly, and I mean instantly, attraction flips to revulsion. Door slammed shut, game over. That feeling that Sarah has, that's the ick. And it's silently destroying your chances at love and belonging before you even know what hit you. This isn't about being picky. This is about a protective system that's sabotaging your connection tier. And this happens at the biological level. Today, we're going to expose what the ick really is. Hint, it's not shallow judgment. It's a survival system, and sometimes it goes haywire. You have a personal ick threshold that is secretly controlling who gets access to your inner circle. And the people that you have or want to have a relationship with also have a personal ick threshold as well. And that is why brilliant people keep losing friends, don't get invited to parties, and often alienate everyone around them despite having lots going for them. Here's what no one talks about. The ick isn't optional. You can't just decide to ignore it and suddenly feel attracted to someone who triggered your disgust response. Research on relationship formation shows we make unconscious safety assessments within 7 seconds of meeting someone. And here's the problem. Most people have never calibrated, measured their own ick threshold. If your ick threshold is set too low, you miss actual red flags and end up with people who hurt you. If it's set too high, you block out perfectly good people over trivial differences. The result? Millions of people are either getting into toxic relationships, ick factor too low, or staying alone, ick factor too high. Let me blow your mind with what the ick actually is. It's your rapid fire contamination and threat detection system. It's your brain's limbic system / amygdala scanning for 4 specific dangers in milliseconds. First of all, there's the pathogen ick. Pathogen. Like smell, illness cues, sloppiness, or poor hygiene, like bad breath or body odor, that signal disease risk. Then there's the boundary ick, when someone is forcing you to do something you don't like, or forcing you to hear something you don't want to hear. All of these are signals that they are violating your boundaries and might hurt you. This triggers the boundary ick. Even something as simple as checking your phone while they are talking to you might trigger a boundary ick. Third, there's the cultural ick. Unfamiliar manners, accents, styles that signal not a member of my tribe, that triggers the cultural ick. And then there's trauma echo ick. This is really important. When your own personal history hijacks the present moment, some event reminds you of a painful event from your past, and you don't like it. This triggers the trauma echo ick. So you've got four: pathogen ick, you've got cultural ick, you've got boundary ick, and you've got trauma echo ick. The problem? Your brain can't tell the difference between what is unfamiliar and what is unsafe. Here's the neuroscience that explains most of this. Your orbital frontal cortex is the part of the brain responsible for adding context to what your limbic/amygdala reactions are, i.e., your ick. Your orbital frontal cortex asks, is this actually dangerous or just different? But when you're stressed, drunk, on a first date, tired, or triggered, that orbital frontal cortex, that context system goes offline. fMRI studies show that people who can manage, calibrate their disgust responses, their ick responses, have a 40% more successful long-term relationships. Why? Because they can distinguish between genuine red flags and false alarms. Read more about those fMRI studies in the description below. So often, the difference between people who find love and people who stay alone is simple. One group has trained their brain to sort real threats from imaginary ones. Here's where very smart people sometimes completely screw themselves. Hyper-rational, really smart people treat emotions like bugs in code. They think the ick is primitive, illogical, something to be overcome. Or they become contemptuous of irrational emotional responses that they trigger with everyone else when they trigger their boundary ick, for example, or even their pathogen ick. Their view is often, if I'm triggering one of your icks, get over it. I don't care. Meet a really good friend of mine who has a PhD in engineering, Arthur. He's brilliant, a problem solver, however, completely unable to maintain relationships. Arthur's ick-generating behaviors, constant corrections. Well, actually, energy that signals contempt for others' intelligence, treats emotions like engineering problems, interrogates people's feelings instead of validating them, micro-disrespect everywhere, interrupts waiters at restaurants, ignores conversational cues such as people looking away, and rarely offers a genuine apology. Plus, basic hygiene neglect, bad breath during intimate conversations, ungroomed hands at dinner. The result? Arthur triggers boundary, pathogen, and cultural ick simultaneously. His friends avoid him, invitations stop coming, and he has no idea why. I have another friend, Tanya. She's warm, charismatic, magnetic on first contact. However, in initial conversations, she shares other people's private information to make you feel close. It's kind of like a test for intimacy before building trust. She's chronically unreliable, late for everything, borrows money and forgets, endless apologies, but no real change. People lose trust. Clearly, Tanya is violating both cultural ick and boundary ick, and that's not good. Here's the brutal truth. Studies of 2.3 million dating app interactions show 73% of rejection happens within the first 30 seconds. Not because of looks, but because of ick triggers in photos, messages, or early conversation. The cost isn't just romantic, it's professional, social, and familial. When you consistently trigger other people's safety systems, your entire connection tier collapses. This impacts your career, your relationships, and your life in general. Here's the good news. Your own ick threshold can be recalibrated. It's dangerous to try and recalibrate someone else's ick threshold, however. Generally, when it comes to someone else's ick, it's best you recognize and be aware of it. However, when it comes to your own ick, you could take steps to change it. Step 1, log your ick responses for 2 weeks. Who made you feel uncomfortable and why? Rate the intensity, 0 to 10, 10 being the highest. And categorize the type of ick. Was it a pathogen ick? Was it a boundary ick? Was it a cultural ick? Was maybe a traumatic echo ick? Step 2, for each ick, ask, is this actually unsafe? Is the person actually trying to hurt me? Or just uncomfortable, just unfamiliar? And then step 3, design micro exposures with safety boundaries for things like cultural and trauma echo icks. Go out and hang out with some friends that maybe have dirty fingernails while they're eating or something, and see if you can slowly kind of get over those types of icks. Right now, your ick threshold is either helping or hurting you. There's no neutral. For example, if you're at home and your kids roll their eyes when you speak, if your wife doesn't want you to touch her, if your friends avoid you at public events, chances are you're triggering their ick factor. You can scream at them all you want and ask them to change their ick factor, but chances are that will not happen. You will need to calibrate their ick factor and act accordingly if you want to stay in their good graces. Remember that. If this episode helped you understand how ick thresholds control your connection tier, hit subscribe. We release new systems thinking episodes every week. Hit like. That lets YouTube know this content helps people like you. And also remember to turn on the notifications button so you never miss a new episode. And please tell me in the comments what you think. What's one ick you need to change? I do read every comment, and your insights help me create better content. Drop your questions in the comments below. I use your questions to decide what systems thinking issues to focus on. Remember, the goal isn't to eliminate the ick. It's to understand it. It's to make it serve your love and belonging needs. I'm John Betancourt. Remember to think in systems, and you'll have a more fulfilling life.